So it's Monday morning, 10:20. Have to be in Johnstown at 11. Just gonna make it, if I make it, by 11. I'm not even in Crescent yet, and so yeah, gonna be close. Tell you what, I just have trouble fucking sleeping at night. Even yesterday, I didn't sleep that much. I actually, because you probably didn't listen to any videos, if you're seeing this one and didn't see yesterday's video, then you don't know that I woke up on Sunday morning thinking it was fucking Monday morning. I left the house to go to work, and when I walk out the door, I see all the cars are in the church parking lot, and I'm like, why the fuck is a church full of cars on a fucking Monday morning? And at first I'm like, maybe, there's a funeral. But it was enough to get me to look at my phone, and I look at my phone and it says Sunday. And I'm like, oh, fuck. So I was up and dressed and everything. I went into Altoona and I went to the gym and worked out from like noon until 2. And then I went and I wanted to get a different jump rope. So I went and got a different jump rope, and I got something to eat. And I come back after 3. And worked out for another 2 hours. So and I come home, and I might have taken a short nap, but basically still I wasn't able to fall asleep, and I ended up being up until 3 in the fucking morning, or maybe 4, I don't know. So I didn't get that much sleep tonight either. But whatever, it is what it is. I gotta do what I gotta do at this point. I dyed my hair yesterday. Maybe you can tell. I only had black, and I just don't like that jet black. It's too dark. My hair is not naturally jet black. It's more brown, and I mean, it looks alright, I guess, but I don't know. Hair is grown in on top. And I started letting the sides grow in a couple weeks ago, and they were growing in decent, but I still didn't like it, so I ended up shaving it again. I don't know what I'll do. I'd like to get the sides, to come down a little bit further, like some length coming down another, about right like here, with a good 1/4 inch of length, maybe even a 1/2 inch. I just think it squares my head up more. If you look at my head, it's kind of, if this part here had more hair, it would look a little squarer. I personally think it would look better. I listened to your video, or our video from Roaring Springs again. It's hard to believe it's been almost a month since I saw you there already. Today's the 16th. I don't know. I think that video was like from the 23rd, so that's the last time I saw you, or at least face to face, other than maybe I saw you coming in and out of the house one time or something. But you've changed your patterns. I haven't seen you at a grocery store. I haven't seen you at the Goodwill. Haven't seen you dumpster diving in months. Well, one time since New Year's, I guess, at when I saw you at Weiss. And prior to that, prior to New Year's, I would see you almost, once a week. I'd see you somewhere, Weiss or Goodwill or something. So you definitely changed your patterns. I don't know exactly. I suspect it is done intentionally, just like you intentionally shut down YouTube. And, to be honest, it's made things harder in terms of trying to figure out if you're doing this or that, or if you're home. I mean, it's like now, it really don't even make much sense for me to drive past your house. Fucking roads are closed here. God damn it. They were closed the other day too. You got trees down all over the fucking place. You know, they're poisoning us, and I know you don't want to hear your conspiracy stuff. They're poisoning us with this fucking rain and these chemtrails. And they're dumping fucking aluminum and all kind of shit all over the world, really, but all over trees. And these trees are dying. That's why do you think? I mean, you had 2 trees fall over in your house yard last year. 2, you know, that were falling apart. That's not just because of age, and it's not just your house. It's happening everywhere. Anyway, you know, I mean, the water is saturated with all these chemicals that they're, you know, raining down on us intentionally and killing, you know, the ground, killing the trees. It's terrible. That has a lot of negative consequences because, as you know, from basic whatever science, trees convert carbon dioxide to oxygen. So as trees die off, there's more and more carbon dioxide, less and less oxygen. Anyway, not to say that that's the real issue. We'll be dead because of the fucking poison they're pumping in our food and water supply, ground supply, and everything else before we die from not enough oxygen. Well, there's a 3-minute fucking detour. Oh, God. Fucking tired. But anyway, to get back to you, you know, you've changed your schedule and your habits and I don't know if you even realize it, but not watching YouTube has, I mean, first of all, it's helped me to some extent because now there's nothing for me to check. Like, I don't, you know, I can't go on at 8:30 and say, oh, she's at home and she's what, you know, I had that, you know, I lost that connection to you because that's, you know, now, you know, I can't like watch it and say, wow, Danielle's watching this, or, you know, and it used to be you'd watch things, sometimes you'd watch, you know, you'd listen to a song like I Will Always Love You or something, and I'd be like, man, she's listening to that thinking about me. Now that type of thing stopped a while back, but you know, it was just like connect, like I knew what you were doing, and and you were letting me know what you were doing, and you wanted me to know, and now you don't want me to know, and that's hard. And, you know, and I listened to that video yesterday from Roaring Springs, and, you know, you basically were saying, just let me go and stop thinking about me. And, you know, I don't know how exactly you said it, but you were like, when is this going to stop? When are you going to, you know? And I didn't have an answer for you, but it wasn't really until after that you really cut contact with the YouTube out and really changed you'd already begun changing your patterns some, but that really shifted after I saw you down there. Anyway, it's just been, you know, so now that, and then like what I was also getting at is without the YouTube, you know, going past to see if your car's there, it doesn't tell me much, you know, because like, for example, at night, if I go past and see your car's there at 10 o'clock at night, it doesn't mean you're home, you know. I mean, and the only thing I really have to go by to try to tell is whether the lights are on. But ever since that one day where you turned them all off when you left, you know, you've now begun leaving the lights on. The only thing, sometimes I can kind of tell whether there's TV flickering. But even that, you could leave the TV on. Without YouTube, I don't know, you know, when you were watching my YouTube and you would leave, there was a few times I think you tried to leave and left YouTube running. But then I know you're gone, because the YouTube would go from one show to the next show, or it would stay on the same person for, you know, the same thing straight through, show after show. Well, you never watch YouTube like that. You might watch 20 minutes of a show. Even your favorite shows, you rarely watch straight through. You have like an ADHD or something. You don't really watch shows straight through. So, but if you leave the TV running, it's going to run through the entire program. And so I could kind of figure you out that way. Okay, she's just leaving it on. Or, you know, if your car's home but there's no TV on, then I could better assume you weren't home. You know what I mean? But now, you know, and it's the same in the afternoons. So, I mean, to even have an idea, like I've noticed last week, I noticed there were multiple days where your car was home like all afternoon, from like noon to 4 o'clock. Now, I don't have access to your TV, so I can't tell whether the TV's on or not. So there's nothing there to say, yeah, she's in watching TV. Look, she changed. She went from this show to that show to that show. So I have no way of, you know, really knowing that you're inside the house. So now all I could do is assume based on what I know about you, which is that you never fucking home. You don't stay home from 12 to fucking, you know what I mean? You're not home from 12 to 4 ever. Not when we were together, not the last 5 months, ever. So if your car's home all afternoon, then I have to assume you got picked up, or you're with somebody else. You know, it could be, theoretically, it could be your mom could have came and got you. But, you know, 2 days in a row, 5 hours gone. Like there was a couple days last week where you were gone at least 2 days in a row from noon to 5 o'clock. You know, or let's put it this way: your car was home from noon to 5 o'clock. Now, maybe you were gone all day. That car could have been there. I mean, I got there, like I went past the house at noon. You could have been gone you could have never been, you know, you could have stayed overnight with him and not come home until the next day at 6 o'clock in the evening. I know you've done that in the past. There have been days, you know, where you didn't have YouTube on for 24 straight hours. Actually, probably more than that. There have been days where you got off YouTube at, 2 o'clock in the afternoon and then come home and use it again until the following night. You know, there was a couple days like that. And, you know, those are the things that, though, you know, when you sit here and tell me you're not seeing somebody, that's the stuff that's like, you know, complete obvious lie, you know, that points to you're just full of shit. But that, you know, like that you didn't watch any YouTube for 40 hours, you know, or even 20 hours, you know, and that was like at least once a week you were doing that. And, you know, so, I mean, and I said to you the one day, you want me to believe this completely absurd claim that you're not seeing somebody, and you're like, and I said, and I can't do that. And then you said, your response wasn't to argue that you weren't seeing somebody or to provide any proof. Your response was, then just move on, just leave me alone. You know, almost like, okay, fine, I'm seeing somebody, leave me alone. Now, I think what you were trying, you know, maybe we're saying was, well, if you can't accept it, then just leave me alone. But it's the same thing, you know. When you don't take any steps to provide the proof, which you didn't, I mean, you know, that when we were sitting in, Roaring Springs, you know, you pulled out your phone when I said about your photos or something. And you start scrolling. But then a little bit later, I says, here, show me your phone again. And you're like, you just want to be able to, you know, control me, or you want to, you know, manipulate something. I forget exactly how you put it. No. I wanted to give you an opportunity to prove that I'm not right, that I'm wrong. But you couldn't do it. You know, you're like, and I even said, I said, yeah, sure, you can scroll through, but that doesn't mean you didn't delete shit. You know, if your photos, if you're scrolling through photos and it's, you know, photo 3,320, and then it goes to 3,340, and then it goes to 3,350, and I know you have 60, you know, 30 photos deleted just in that little span. Well, what photos did you delete? You know what I mean? And you're controlling the narrative by scrolling through what you already have cleaned up, and you know is clean and is not gonna show me anything that would incriminate you. But you can't hand me your phone because any real investigation of it would reveal the truth. You know, that's why at no point in the last 5 months have you said, here's my phone, look at it. There's nothing in there. No, you can't. Just like, you know, 5 years ago or whatever it was, 6 years ago, you couldn't hand me your phone. You know, you fought and pulled it off of me because you knew there was incriminating shit in there. So then it took you like literally a week to get it all cleaned up. That's how much shit you had then. You know, because you were talking to fucking dozens of guys. And, you know, we had some interesting conversations. And there was, you know, after we ate, you know, I was listening to it yesterday, and there were points in that were very, you know, I'd like to send it to you, really, or at least, you know, the portions that I think where we were actually really communicating. And I did notice, because like I said, I had the thing recording, and when I got out and went to get food, it was recording. I know you got a phone call while I was inside. I heard it ring, and I think you got out and started talking. But I'm not absolutely sure, because video-wise, I was just recording the roof of my car, but it sounded like you opened and shut the door. But I know it did ring, and you know, like half a ring, and you shut it. You either shut it off, ignored it, or you answered. I think at one point I heard your voice, but it was you were careful. If you were talking, you were careful to talk very lowly. And I haven't put it on the TV or on a better speaker system to listen to it. I'm just listening to it through the phone. But I do know you got a call. And, you know, which doesn't prove anything about who you got a call from. It could have been your mom. You claimed you got a call from your mom earlier. So I have a feeling you have him in under your mom. That's what I have a feeling. Because your mom's phone, you had two numbers for your mom. One was your mom, like mom's new phone, and then you had an old number, I guess, for it just said mom's phone. And pretty sure now, when you said you had your mom calling, it was really it just said mom's phone. So you probably put him under mom's phone. But I mean, there really was, there were a few things you said, you know, if you would just take these steps, and I could see us talking. I'm not saying we couldn't talk. But when I asked you for what? To what purpose? To what ends? What are we working towards? To get back together? You immediately said no. You know. So, you know, like, you want me to, you think I'm going to, first of all, I don't think even if I fucking showed you, you know, a doctor's letter or a therapist's letter to confirm or prove that I go to a therapist, I don't think that would change anything. And, you know, now, do I kind of think, to be honest, if we, you know, just like back in October, you were happy to walk around and walk the dogs with me and be intimate with me and kiss me and, you know, blow me in the fucking parking lot and all that. You were, I think you enjoyed that. Because I know you still have feelings for me. At least you did in October. But what you couldn't do was give him up and give up your nightly patterns. And once I started questioning you about why you had to leave at 6 o'clock, and you know, and I brought that up in Roaring Springs, and you said, oh, I couldn't, you know, what did you say? I don't know. You were afraid. You're too nervous. You're afraid or something. You know. And, you know, but realistically, though, you know, but then you didn't have an answer for why. Well, why, when you left, did you keep your phone blocked until 9 o'clock? Why couldn't you talk to me after you left? You know, you had to, you know, I mean, those are like the inconsistencies that demonstrate that there's another man. Because if all it was, okay, it's too intense, or, you know, it's just, I don't want to get you in trouble, the cops could come, okay, I'm going to leave. Well, then you leave, and you get on the phone with me, and you talk to me, off and on, through from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. It was really nice. It was this or that. And you would disappear. Maybe I'd get a hold of you 20 minutes later, and you'd say, okay, I got to go. I'm going to my dad's. Or whatever bullshit story you come up with. And then you'd be off, and you'd block me from 7 o'clock or 6:30 till 9 o'clock. Then, you know, now, for what? Oh, I can't when you claimed, oh, I can't when I'm dumpster diving. Yeah, you're not dumpster diving, Danielle, like I told you that day, from 6:30 to, you know, 9 o'clock. I mean, shut the fuck up with that already. Come up with something better. Because you ain't dumpster diving for 2.5 hours. And you sure as fuck ain't dumpster diving anymore at all. Because I've never seen you out. But when I did see you out back then, it would be from 8 o'clock to 9. Or 8:30 to 9:30. You'd be, you know, I could ride your route and almost find you every night if I wanted to. Because you have the same route. And it always started after 8 o'clock. You know. But you've changed that pattern. Because you don't want me to find you. So, you know, the point that I'm making is, but if it was because, you know, it was too intense, or it was you were scared or whatever, you'd have left your phone unlocked. You know, not, you know, and your story about dumpster diving makes no sense. And then why? Oh, it's okay though. At 9:30, once you get home and you're in your house, now you can unlock it and you can talk to me. You know, and that's what was going on. You'd get home after you went to fuck him from 6 to 9, you know. Then you'd come home and unlock your phone and talk to me until you went to bed or whatever. Or sometimes probably until you left to go fucking spend the night with him. You know, because you talk for a half hour. Well, I gotta go feed the dogs. Yeah, you gotta feed it. So you gotta hang up so you can feed the dogs, huh? Come on. You know. And then I'd look, like later, once I figured out how to look at the exact times the shows are on YouTube, I could see that you started logging off YouTube at, you know, 9:30. You know, the same time you're telling me you're going to go cook for the dogs, you're logging off YouTube. You know, and getting off the TV. Come on now. You're leaving. You're leaving. That's what you're doing. I don't know. I guess I'm going to upload this. It's 9:46. Just got on the highway from Evansburg, which means I'm almost certainly going to be late. Either late or, yeah, almost certainly late for raining, so the roads are fucking shitty. Oh well. I mean, you hate to be late for your first day at the fucking job, don't you? You should be there right now. Can't really drive any faster than I can than I am. I don't know. I'm sure at this point I'm just going to shut it down because I'd be surprised if we got to this point in the video, 25 minutes in. I don't think you've watched 25 minutes of my videos in the last month, let alone all at one time. So. Have a good day, Danielle. Good life. I don't know what to say anymore, you know. I will say this, the last 2 months, you know, I wrote in my Facebook, I think it was like October 24th or 5th, I said I could see that it's over between Danielle and I. Now, I believe that was after you didn't come to church that week. I think it was probably, and then, you know, you weren't talking to me, and, you know, but I really, even then, having wrote that, you know what I mean, it was still this, inside my head, I'm still thinking, you know, because it was after that, I think, that we actually went and walked and stuff. We may have met one time at that point, but I don't think we'd really, I think our walks, when I really think about it, I'd like to think like you know, in my head I've created this for a while, like, oh, we were meeting and walking for all of October. Well, I know we weren't. I know that we weren't, because, you know, the first hearing was on the 7th. I think that's when you fell down. The next hearing was like on the 16th. You know, maybe the 16th was when you fell down. I'm not sure. No, I think the 7th was the hearing you fell down. But, you know, I don't know that we even, you know, we really, I wasn't writing stuff down, and because I keep kind of like a journal on Facebook now, just a private, you know, post thing where I update stuff, but I didn't do that then. And, you know, I was updating it with videos, but I can't really keep them. And then at one point, when I was going to get rid of YouTube, I deleted all my videos off of there. And so I don't even have the first month of videos that I made for you where I was crying and all that shit. So, like, I'm sure in the videos I talked about what happened and when I saw you and this and that, but I don't have them anymore, so. But there may be one or two if I really go back and look careful, but yeah, I can't remember the exact timeline, but it didn't last very long. I mean, it wasn't a full month, because I know by the time I got in that car accident, I got hit from the rear end. I think that was like November 5th, and you were already starting to pull away then. I mean, you were pretty, you know, like, I called you while I was in the accident and sitting on the fucking side of the road. And yeah, you told me you should stop and talk to the cops and get a police report. Yeah, you did do that. But you didn't, you know, seem overly concerned. You weren't, oh my God, are you okay? Do you need me to come and get you? Nothing, you know. And, I mean, I know it was a little bit before that, when my car overheated, and you came out to get me, even that day, you know, it took you a goddamn hour to get out to Crescent, which should have took you 15 minutes, you know, so I don't know what the fuck you were doing, but that was, you know, that was like the beginning of November, and I think even by that point, our walks had pretty much stopped. So, you know, we only walked the dogs maybe 5 times. I think we went to Canoe Creek twice, and we went up to that park in Crescent at least 2 times, maybe 3 times maybe. So yeah, probably 5 times, and that was probably over a 2-week period. And then I think it was a combination of me questioning you about him, or where you're going when you leave. I think it was a combination of that stopped our interactions. And I think at some point he started tracking your movements. You two started sharing your locations on your phone. You know, I know you did, because the funny thing is, you know, you were freaking out for about a month there. Anytime I pulled over by you when you were at the dumpster, you were freaking out. You have to leave, get out of here, you know. And then by December, a month later, you weren't doing that at all. Now you could say your anxiety changed, but nah. He had a tracker on your fucking phone, or you were sharing your location, whatever you want to call it, and he knew where the fuck you were, and you were afraid he was going to come look for you and see that I was there. And then once you got rid of that, which, good for you, you stood up for yourself, I guess, you know, then, you know, by Christmas, you weren't freaking out. Because you basically had a goddamn mental fucking breakdown the one day outside of Goodwill. You know, we were inside Goodwill walking around. That's when I said, it seems like, because I saw your phone said notification. And, or it didn't say notification, it said something else. And I thought maybe you were tracking my car somehow. Or you either tracking, first I thought that was notifying you that somebody on your phone was coming, which I think is maybe what it was. But then I thought maybe she's, you know, it's just pinging because of my car being there. But I'm still not absolutely certain either way. But, you know, we were walking around normal inside the store. You were showing me stuff. I think we kissed. I walk out at, you're like, go ahead out ahead of me. I walk out ahead of you. And you come out, you're crying, having a goddamn shaking, having a fucking nervous breakdown. You know why? Obviously, you were afraid somebody was going to see us, you know. And then fast forward, you know, a few weeks, and it was completely different. You know, we sat right around, you know, like the day before Christmas, we sat behind Weiss. You know, I was going to go out and give blood, if you remember. I saw you were sitting there already, and then I pulled in beside you. We sat there for 15, 20 minutes. You never fucking freaked out about anything. You didn't say, oh, the cops are going to come. Oh, I got to go, you're going to get caught. No, you didn't. Because, first of all, you know that's unrealistic. There ain't no cops going to drive by. And that is never why you were freaking out to begin with. It was because of him. Which is also why you were able to sit at Roaring Springs for 3 hours with me. We literally sat there for 3 hours, Danielle. I saw you right around 9 o'clock, and I have 2 hours plus of recording time, and I started recording after I first saw you. I didn't even record the first hour. Like I didn't start recording until we were at the fucking Dunkin' Donuts, behind the Dunkin' Donuts. I didn't even record that entire conversation. That was, you know, I think I missed the first half hour behind Dunkin' Donuts. Anyway, I've made it here. It's like literally hopefully I'm pulling in the right parking lot because I don't have time to fucking drive around the wrong fucking parking lots. I think I did pull in the wrong one. God damn it. Oh, life. What a fucking shit show. Oh well, I'm gonna go. Take it easy. See you later.